Hello, Virgo. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. It's great to see you. We got a lot of really interesting messages coming through from dreams today. Almost too many to capture in the channeled messages, but I'll do my best. My name is Nicholas. This is Apollo, my little furry assistant who likes to show up at the very beginning. And I'm going to help you through the next 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm going to let this sleepyhead go back down to bed, and we're going to get to work here. So great to see you. Starting to get used to this really early wake up time. As many of you know, just due to some construction in my building until I find a new place, I've been getting up at 3 a.m. so I can do these 6 a.m. readings for you. So thank you so much for the patience. Hopefully this is temporary. First and foremost, let's just say welcome and kind of inform you of the schedule here. So as always, you can use this for your sun, your rising, your moon, and your Venus, any aspect of your chart that you happen to know. And the overall format is right here. We're going to start off with the channeled messages first. Again, anything coming through from dreams or my guides, I share with you at the beginning. And then we'll take a look at the Celtic Cross next. And that basically takes on whatever format it needs to. A lot of readers will focus only on love or only on career. I'll focus on whatever your soul energy is coming through and saying it needs to be talked about. And then the rest of this will allow us to kind of drill in it with a little bit more detail. I'm not going to go through all of that right now. We'll have plenty of time as we go through this reading. One quick note, I don't take questions live, but I will allow for a silent question at the end, so do save it until then. Let me give my dog a little love while he's getting settled here. Hey, buddy. How you doing? There we go. He needs to sometimes be tucked back into to his bed after I lift him up at the beginning. He's a cutie. All right, so a couple quick notes here. To keep in the loop about what's going on with me and my schedule, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button. It's free. It will give you updates on your main sort of YouTube feed. Also, it helps the channel grow. So if you're a longtime viewer and you've never done it because you're afraid that you're signing up for something, you're not. You're just saying that you're going to follow me, basically. Okay, so hit the subscribe if you haven't. If you're watching live, it's the only way that you can chat. Also, like this video if you enjoy it, no pressure, but if you do enjoy it, hit the like button once. You can only do it once per video, and opt into notifications. Now more than ever, because I might be shifting times back eventually to the 9 a.m. spot, you don't want to miss out, okay? You can also follow me on social media. I use the story features on all major platforms, especially Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you are following me on any or all of those, you'll also see the story feature reminding you that, hey, today's the day that your sign is being read, okay? Let me see if there's anything else that we need to talk about. Also, if you'd like to show a little bit of love and support, you can do that through SuperStickers and SuperChat, and all the information is right here. So that is pretty much everything in a nutshell. Well, one last thing here. If you want to watch the live schedule and just figure out when I'm live, you can go to my website as well. And the link is right here. Okay, so that's everything there. We're going to now talk about the channeled messages. So without any further delay, let me get my presentation ready, and we're going to discuss your spirit totem, and we're going to also look at some messages that came through in dreams and meditations. All right, so here we go, folks. There was a lot this morning that was coming through. For me, your spirit totem's pretty cool. We haven't seen this one in a while. It's the alligator. And then I just got a lot of different messages in dreams about constructive criticism, possibly finding compromise, releasing baggage, paying attention to details, and also being fully present. So I'm going to break down each one of these messages right now and help you make the most of the month ahead, right? That's all we can ever ask. All right, so let's start with your first message here, which is basically coming through with the alligator, and it's in the family of crocodile. So either way, the alligator was actually what I heard and saw in my mind, so I'm going to stick with that particular one. So I actually thought of this card, which is part of the Divine Tarot deck, which is amazing. Tarot of the Divine, I should say. It's one of the ones you can vote on for today, and unusual one here because we kind of see, instead of the traditional lion, we see someone kind of like embracing the alligator instead. Let's talk about like the strengths of this totem and also some of the potential weaknesses, because it does carry a little bit of both, and I think that makes for a much more interesting totem because it's more like real life, right? Not everything is, you know, unicorns and rainbows. Sometimes we have to deal with the difficult parts, and that's what I'm going to help you with today. All right. So here's some things that I like about this totem. It nearly went to extinction here, especially the American alligator, because of a loss of habitat. But now it's basically come back from the brink of extinction and it's thriving. Still, there are some challenges, but it is an animal that has been able to overcome that particular hurdle, which a lot of species can't. So I like that. It also has built-in armor, not just the thick skin, but also the bones underneath. And basically, this is a reminder to you that particularly when things are getting difficult, when you wonder, how am I going to do this? Can I do this? You can do this. You have to kind of dig within and dig your heels into the ground and go deeply within your heart, your soul energy and say, how can I do this? Not can I do it? How can I do this? Where can I find the strength? Knowing that if it wasn't in this lifetime, in a past lifetime, you had the wherewithal to do it, and you're going to figure out a way to do that again in this lifetime. If you are also kind of in a situation where someone is trying to get under your skin, I would say one of the most important things you can do is to take a deep breath, because the next slide or two is going to talk about how powerful the bite is on this particular animal, also kind of like the reflexes here. So you want to make sure that you're not acting on reflex, that you're not saying something too quickly, because the alligator can also kind of bring you to the Ten of Swords. We're not focusing on that here because I'm seeing it as a strong symbol. I'm giving you everything that you can to like embrace the strong parts of it and avoid kind of getting there. So let's go into the next part of this. You can make an impact. I did a little bit of research and found that the bite force when the jaw closes down is over 2,000 pounds per square inch PSI. I had to look up what that meant. Imagine dropping a truck from a tall building. It would be about the same sort of the impact when that comes down. Like you could just see that truck crashing. You can imagine that it can also sort of create that same pressure there just by closing its jaw. So because this is right around the throat chakra here, it's basically saying your voice and your actions can have an amazing impact. And I believe for the better. You've got to rein in the emotional part. And so that's going to be the challenge, because the emotions can be the fire, the fuel that kind of gives you the wherewithal to figure out, how am I going to say this? Why am I going to do this? Why does this matter to me? But you're not going to just use the emotional piece when delivering the message. There has to be facts, there has to be pacing, there has to be concern and consideration for the audience. If you do that, then you are just using all of the power, all of the strength, and all of the positive energy that basically constitutes this lovely totem for you. If you act on emotion alone, it could come back and bite you. It could end up being the Ten of Swords. And so that's the sort of gentle warning that I'm leaving you with on that. Also, you don't want to make a snap judgment. Thinking of the sort of snapping of the teeth here, you want to really take your time to consider things. So just as I said here, if someone tries to make you angry or get under your skin, ask for some time away. Ask for them to also think about what they're saying before you move forward. And then if you need that time as well, ask and state why it's important to have this time for consideration. If you're being pressured into making a decision, which can also be part of the judgment card, you want to make sure that you have enough information and that you're comfortable before you sign on the dotted line, right? That's an important piece here. And because we're looking at the judgment card, one of the coolest things with this is that there is a bit of manifestation and mind over matter that happens with it. So I always do this before I begin a reading. I just can't wait to get started. I'm like, this is going to be a great reading. This is going to be a great day. Yesterday may not have been what you had in mind, but you're going to make today better. Even if you can't say it's going to be a great day, you can say, I'm going to make it better than yesterday. Start somewhere on that line of kind of manifesting better and try to look at things from a different angle. And these are some things that we don't always talk about with judgment. There's always different ways to consider and to look at things. Constructive criticism is going to be important. I don't know if you're getting this, but the power of your words are so kind of like so important right now that I want you to just really weigh them and then also feel free and empowered to use them to create the change in your life. So I pulled the King of Swords because he's the top of the suit, and because in the upright form, he's actually bringing all the strength and power to communication. What I saw was an exchange between two people where one person was not considering the other's emotions. And in fact, it felt like there was a projection that what was being said had very little to do with the present situation, that it was all about past history or maybe even, like I said earlier, emotions. So what you want to do is make sure that all the things that were lacking in that vision, the tact, the context, or the constructive elements, they have to be a part of key conversations. If you're on the receiving end of someone who's lacking these sort of things, then take a step back, and a lot of times what I would do is redirect, and I would just ask a question. I would say, is everything okay? I hear what you're saying. It sounds like there's a lot of other things that might be coming into this conversation that don't have to do with what we're doing right here and right now. So let's just do a reset. Let's make sure that we're on the same page and we're talking about the same thing. Because a lot of times people just don't hear the way that they're sounding. Testing out your message on a friend, a colleague, a family member is also really effective in making sure that you're not missing something. So I would encourage you to practice, to write it out. A lot of times if you're going to do something, put a draft down and then don't use that draft and just sort of like then take the key points and work from there. Because sometimes we just have to get it out. We just have to say what's on our minds, right? So put it down on paper or practice it or say it, and then imagine you were hearing it and think, okay, maybe this and this, maybe not this, maybe I can improve the order of this, etc. One thing that you can also do when having difficult conversations is assume the best. So many of you know, like back in one of my corporate jobs, I was an art director. I was also a producer. But in the time that I was like an art director and managing a lot of creative people, I would make sure that if I didn't understand or agree with something, that I started first with making sure that I knew the full picture. So I would say, tell me about your creative decision on this. I know that we had spoken earlier about doing this. This is a little different. How did you get to this? Because before we present this, I need to understand it, and I want to make sure that I didn't miss something. Because otherwise we have to kind of take some of that consideration and put it here. So anyway, I would always make sure that there wasn't maybe like my boss that came in or the client came in and gave feedback, something happened, and rather than me sort of snapping at the person, I need to make sure that we're okay. If they forgot the conversation, then they'd be like, oh yeah, you did say that. Okay, give me like 5 minutes or 10 minutes and I'll change that around. You could avoid an argument and everybody's okay because you always are setting them up for success and assuming that they're doing a good job. You can do this with anyone in your life. Just kind of like revisit and say, oh wow, this is a little different than what we talked about. What made you decide to do this? You don't have to do it in an accusing way. Just sort of say, oh, I'm curious, legitimately, like because we talked about something different. Tell me about it. And just see where that takes you. And that can help you land in a good space rather than start off on a place where you're putting them on the defensive. Okay? And if someone is putting you on the defensive, take a step back or say, wait a second, I don't think you have the full story here. Some additional things happened since our conversation. So you can always kind of like give yourself a little bit of padding or walk away if you need to. If someone's being unreasonable, say, let's talk a little later. We're just sort of like talking over each other. It feels like some criticism or some sort of a negotiation needs to happen. Make sure that both parties are open and receiving and looking and listening to the same thing at the same time, okay? So the next piece was really cool here. I was seeing someone that was packing for a trip, trying to kind of figure out what to take with them, and the image of the Fool came through. And one thing that I love with the Fool energy is the understanding that less is more. And if we were to abstract this and look beyond the sort of clear indication that some of you might be ready to, start something new, leave something because you're sick of it, or just make a fresh start. There is the piece here of before you do that, wrap up everything and like leave a clean place, leave a clean slate. So if you're in a relationship, this can simply mean to kind of like let go of things because the Fool travels lightly. When you look at that image, he has a knapsack and is just going about his day. He's not going to carry all of this heavy luggage with him, right? So if there's been a lot of stuff going on and you're trying to continue or move to the next level in a relationship, It's almost like you have to face today as if it were this person is ready to turn a new corner and you're ready to turn a new corner. You can't carry all this stuff with you. So there has to be that internal question of, why am I carrying this with me? Am I ready to truly sort of let some of this go? Is there a reason we're both holding on to something? If you're going to start a new job, move, or do anything new, make sure that that new move is also unencumbered, that you're not bringing with you fear or uncertainty or anxiety from the past. So this is really just asking you to wrap it up, tie up loose ends before the new beginning truly is something that you're ready to embark upon. And then decide, this is new, this is different. Today's going to be something different, right here, right now. And that internal switch is what makes the Fool really, really powerful, okay? But it is not going to be carrying with it all of that stuff from the past. So I see a new beginning for you. You might be wrapping up a job, you might be leaving a relationship, you might be deciding, like me, to move somewhere new. But as we go into these new journeys, we're going to think to ourselves, this is different than the last time. I'm going to make it different than the last time. And that's the power of the Fool. Because believe it or not, like the Fool can either be the first time or it can be the graduation. After the world comes the Fool. It's a cycle kind of repeats. But assuming that there's been a few generations here and you're a wise Fool, then it's like a sophomore, right? This isn't your first time around the sun. So this Fool is carrying with it all of the energy of several world like graduations, okay? So it's not a baby, it's a wise Fool, a sophomore. All right, let's move on to the next one. So I was looking at details. It looked like you were going through all of these papers and contracts, and sometimes you could get mired down in that, but I also feel like a lot of great information could be coming out of this as well. So if you've been avoiding doing something because it feels like, I don't want to deal with all the data, the details, now's the time. You're going to find what you're looking for. You're going to make more progress than you might imagine. And because we're in the retrograde period, it's a perfect time to kind of go into an Eight of Pentacles energy. And that is basically really finishing what you started, really getting the information necessary to understand things, being picky, being discerning. It's all going to pay off. So revise contracts, revise your plans, or revise your expectations if you need to, because now you have new data, you have new information, you have a new understanding of what's possible. If you're ready to educate yourself, this is a perfect time to do that. Sign up for or complete any training or education that has been on your radar, something that you've been hoping to do. And by all means, finish what you've started. That is really what retrograde period allows us to do. And you'll be out of it by the end of next month. This reading is for June. And so you're going to hit, retrograde's going to hit right now and then the beginning of next month, but by the end of next month, you'll be out of it. So that's why I want you to know what's next. And it's a good time for planning, for revising, for finishing, for getting work done. Retrogrades, for me, typically are really, really productive. And I'm also looking to change or to fix something. Like sometimes you have to look for a place to move. I won't move during the retrograde, but I'm going to do all the research, get everything ready for after the retrograde, and I'll move right afterwards. Because life happens. I can't wait any longer. So you can do important things. We don't just put everything on pause because it's happening. You look at retrograde from a different perspective. It's a chance for you to really make a difference happen. Okay? I think this may be, okay, second to last slide. We've got our last slide here. And this one was about being present. So often we worry about, tomorrow, what could have happened yesterday, why everything's happening the way it's happening. And I saw a celebration, and the celebration could portend, like it could just actually be a premonition that you're going to have something wonderful on the horizon. But to me, let's also take it as a chance to celebrate. When was the last time you said thank you or I love you to someone and truly meant it and truly kind of backed it up and said, like, thank you so much for doing this. It made my day. Little things like that have an amazing impact. When was the last time you celebrated how much work you've done or how far you've come in your life? Or if you are someone who has people that look up to you as a parent, as a teacher, mentor, as a boss, celebrating those little milestones. And then also in a relationship, celebrating, how long you've been together or moving through something really difficult together. So have a date night, or if it's, again, someone that you are like managing, give them some sort of recognition. It's an important thing to do. So recognize your accomplishments, others, and celebrate. This is something that we don't do often enough. And being present and celebrating strengthens those bonds that we all need in day-to-day life. So you got some great messages overall, Virgo. And if we go back to the very first slide here, I think the most powerful thing here is your communication, which is why I chose the King of Swords here. And finding a way to communicate things that could be challenging for you, all right? The other stuff is going to be, I think, easier, letting go of things, maybe finding a way to embark on something new, sign up for something new. But the communication, that's going to be your most powerful, most important thing this month. So I'm here to help you with it, all right? Let's go ahead now and vote on what we want to use today for the cards. I actually pre-selected them. I was up early and decided to kind of get everything organized here. So this deck is the one that featured the alligator. I'm going to also pull the Sun and Moon deck here. I've been putting this one back into rotation, and it's the wild unknown, because I have a couple wild ones. And then, let's see, I think this one it is not found. It's the Field Tarot. So let me give you a chance to vote on all of these, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so if you're watching live, you'll have a chance to do this, and if not, you'll just have to trust that people made a good choice, and they usually do. All right, so we have Tarot of the Divine in option number 1. We have Sun and Moon in option number 2. We have Wild Unknown in option number 3. And then we have Field Tarot as the third option. Okay, so let me show you a few cards from each. I'm going to get some water as well while you're voting, and then we'll go from there. All right, so if you're unfamiliar with these, option number 1 is the Tarot of the Divine, and it has a very kind of cohesive palette here. There's a strength card that I featured, and it's based loosely on some fairy tales and some fables and things. All right, Sun and Moon, just like you would imagine, is going to feature a lot of sun and moon imagery, but it also has this beautiful illustrative style that is very friendly and very welcoming, actually. I don't use this all the time, but for people who typically don't love tarot, this is a deck that I would use because the imagery is so soft and inviting. This one borrows heavily on animal and nature totems. So you're going to see a lot of animals in this deck like that. And it's black and white with a sort of like color interspersed. And I tend to love it. It's not the easiest to read sometimes on some of the Wands cards, but I'm learning to overlook that. And then this one is Field, very close to Fountain, because it has a similar abstract style, but a little bit clearer, a little bit easier to see all of the cards. So those are your choices, my friends. I'm going to give you a chance to vote on them, and I'm going to leave one card up from each while you're voting, and I'm going to grab some water, and then we'll get started. Okay, so there you go. Whichever one you would like, go for it, and we'll go from there. Hopefully everybody's doing great today. All right, it looks like Sun and Moon is in the lead. Will it win? Probably will. Let's see here. Tarot of the Divine is now in the lead. All right, we're going to end the poll and give everything a moment and see which one. Seriously, they tied. Okay, so we're going to let the cards decide. I mean, so you did Sun and Moon and Tarot of the Divine. All right, well, the High Priestess would normally take this, but let's go ahead and give it one more chance here and just see. Princess of Pentacles. Knight of Wands. All right, so the Knight wins. I'm going to mix and match today because both of them basically Honestly, this won the first time, this won the second time, so I almost feel like I should take the first win on this one, but we'll go with Tarot of the Divine since I featured the card. And then I'm going to use Sun and Moon for all of the expanded features, which I have a lot of. So I'm going to put it off to the side so they both win and they both get used today. We'll just use this for the Celtic Cross, okay? So that's usually how I handle ties. All right. It just means that we need to get some messages from both of them, okay? So we will. We only had 81 votes, so when you have a chance to vote, please do. That was less than half of the people here. I think if we get all the folks voting, it could be a little bit clearer of a winner. But I agree, equally great choices, and we're going to get the messages that we need. So don't worry. Like I said, both will come through today. I really like this deck. I don't use it all the time, and it's going to be perfect for today. And again, this one we're putting off to the side, but I will use it for all the expanded stuff, so everybody wins. And I do have a lot of expanded stuff, as you know, so we'll be pulling at least as many cards as you see here. Well, maybe not as many, but almost. Actually, yeah, it's almost like 9 or 10 other cards, so it's equal. This was so last night. Like I'll have to take a look at my messages and see if I missed anything else because I got up a few times at 1 and 2 in the morning. I have to get up at 3, like I said, but I was all night long getting messages and thinking, wow, Virgo has a lot going on in their life right now, and I'm glad I'm here to help you sort it out. Thank you for those of you that support me on Patreon. There's always an option to either be a member here or Patreon, and both of them help. And let me see here. I'll put the link to both here in just a second for you so that you have it, since I kind of self-moderate here during the daytime. So if you want to become a member of this channel, you can do it by clicking join, and then someone mentioned Patreon, and you can also support me on Patreon. So those are the two choices there. Okay, so let's go ahead now and talk about your Catalyst card today. The deck that I'm using is Lord Ganesha, and it's protection, and the card was reversed, but for some of you, what I'm really inferring by the reversal of this is that you may have, it may be easier for you to put that protection out there for others, like if you're a mother or a nurse or teacher, as we talked about earlier, anyone that has people in their charge. But when it comes to you and when it comes to taking care of yourself, that protective energy, maybe you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself, for saying, I matter. So this is basically saying, don't take yourself for granted. If you're feeling a little bit tired or if your health isn't where it needs to be, make sure that you have a firm foundation in your health, both physical and mental. And then also when it comes to taking care of everyday stuff, make sure that that's not going, by the wayside. Interesting thing, and this was way back early in my professional career, but I remember that there was this big technical launch that I was working on, and it was in the early 2000s, but somebody that, someone that had just been put into a management position was overwhelmed, and they were at their desk kind of like weeping and crying, and so much stress had happened that they forgot to pay their electric bill, and they forgot what time they needed to pick up their kid, and all these things were happening. And it was sort of like, you need to slow down and take care of yourself. Like, that's your life. This is a job. This is a project. It'll either launch or it won't. You have to take care of you. So protect what matters most. That's going to be your health, your family, your welfare, the little tiny things in your life, like, paying the bills and things like that. So get the foundation like firmly put together. It's never worth it. It's never worth that other stuff, because if you were to imagine that this was your last day on the planet and you reviewed all of your stuff, how small and insignificant is a project deadline compared to something bigger, like, again, your family or your health, it doesn't compete. It doesn't match up. So get priorities in the right place and protect what matters most. And if somebody needs a little bit of help, step in there and give them a hand, of course. Okay, that's all this is really about. I think some of you have a big heart and work really, really hard. So make sure that you're not missing out on taking care of yourself. It's a nurturing card above all else. Okay. Let's take a look at the cards and see what messages they want to bring to you today. All right, so we have the Moon card smack dab in the center. The Moon is reminding you to look at things, whether or not you want to see them, to look at things. So the Moon card in reverse is saying some things that in the past maybe were difficult for you to see or that you tried to ignore, they're coming back right now. And because we're going into retrograde, it's a Mercury retrograde in particular, it's a chance for you to look at it from a different perspective. Age, experience, a more sort of mature heart gives us a chance to understand things and not be afraid of them as we get older. I will say this, the older I get, the less fear that I have over doing things or saying things or being who you are, being authentic, because you eventually get to a point where there are fewer days ahead than there were behind you. And you're like, well, let's make the most of this. Why am I worried anymore? Who am I really accountable to if not myself? So this Moon card is asking you to release fear and to do something fun, creative, inspirational, passionate, because that's the power of the Moon. Going where your heart and where your inner self is kind of like guiding you to go. So don't be afraid anymore to try. Even though I kind of give, you can look at the Yoda thing, it's do or do not, never try. You have to kind of entertain possibilities. So definitely think that this is a chance where you can give it a shot. Put your best foot forward is a better way of saying try, and feel like I'm going to do all that I can do to make this happen. The hardest thing for many of you, and this seems like a very Virgo trait, is like to be independent here and to sort of like prove that you can do it. And the Nine of Cups, the Nine of Pentacles, when it comes through, a lot of times is stubborn enough that like if help or assistance is offered to you, when you have that energy there, it's sort of like, I'm afraid, because if we were to pull these two cards together, this can be fear and this can be opportunity. I'm afraid to take that helping hand. I'm afraid what this might lead to. I'm afraid. So don't be afraid to accept help, especially if it's good and well-intentioned help and guidance or advice, because if we try to do everything on our own, sometimes we make it worse. So independence is good, but know when that extra piece brings you to the Ten of Pentacles, which is completion. If you did it this far on your own and there's just one little piece that you need assistance with, it's not going to mean that you are weaker, that you are any less accomplished. It means that you knew exactly when to delegate. And delegation is a key factor that you'll see in the court cards, any of the King and Queen cards, any of the Empress and Emperor cards. So letting go or delegation is a part of leadership. You don't have to do it all on your own. I do love that we have a Nine of Pentacles here in the center. That is telling me that you've got your mind on what matters here, and you're going to be able to take care of things. It's a card of abundance and sustainability. So in the past, your instincts have served you well. This is instinct. So do trust instincts on whether or not to do something, and continue to focus on building your financial and your resource abundance, because it's coming through in a really big way here, okay? Now we have to talk about these two cards because together they have different meanings. So I tend to try to look at the positive energy of the Moon, but the Moon reverse can also be a reveal happening. Someone that tried to hide something and it came out. And the Devil card is here to kind of help us deal with that. So there could be someone in your life that has a hard time letting you go to the next thing. We look at this Devil, as illustrated, it's a snake with all those sort of like, almost looks like it's in a cage, right? So different illustrations handle the Devil card differently, but this one has one of the key pieces of it nicely here front and center, which is being trapped. In the traditional card, we see the Lovers in a lower energy. Lovers and Devil, they're like cousins, but one has the angel behind it, one has the devil. I'm going to pull the cards up so we can look at it here. So when you have unconditional love, you are willing and absolutely not just able, but you want somebody to succeed, to move to the next level, whatever that might be, with or without you, because you see that it's making them happy. So as a parent, that means that, sometimes when your child is ready to go away to college or get married, you're so happy. You're going to miss them, but you're happy because it's the next natural phase of their life. But we often have people in our life that try to hold us back a little bit. Okay, so we're going to look at these two cards here because they're going to nicely illustrate conditional versus unconditional love. So this is the lesson of, little mini tarot lesson here, of the very similar lovers and devil. So in the lovers, everything's divinely decreed and you're being guided, you're being supported, and you see how they're kind of even postured open toward each other, heart first, facing one another. There's no chains, there's no difficulty. Now enter the devil card, where there is a condition, a chain between them. And there is this sort of, it can be fear, lie, anger, deceit. That's truly all the devil is a lower frequency that is also standing between them. So all you have to do is release the condition, release the chain, let go. Like a butterfly, it needs to fly, right? And when you release it, then you can get back into the elevated energy of the lovers. Because that's all the devil is there. It starts from love, but it moves strangely into jealousy, control, anger, all of those things that happen sometimes when you look at something that you want, but you can't have it or you can't control it. So that's basically what we're seeing a little bit of here in the deep past, is just let that person go, let the thing go, let the habit go, let go. And I earlier was inferring the energy of the Fool, which would also be release and freedom and letting things go. But the devil is telling us why we need to kind of embrace that Fool energy. And it's because it's holding you or someone else down and or back. And once you release it, then you're free. And it is just feeling like if it's meant to come back into my life, it will, in the case of wanting to control something. In the case of an addiction or a way of living or being, what we're saying here is I'm now truly honest with my part in this, and I'm going to let that go too, because it doesn't serve me. The devil only serves itself. And if you serve the devil, you're only serving the devil. It's not, you're never going to get a good bargain from that energy. So it's a self-serving card, and when it comes through, it's like something is not as good as it looks. Something has a condition to it that it's too much. So when signing contracts, when making agreements, or when reviewing old contracts that don't serve you, it might be time to break it if possible, because there was something about it that was unrealistic, dishonest, or not completely present. And so what you're doing right now is liberating yourself, freeing yourself, and seeing things as they truly are or always were. Okay? So it's all good. It's good to have that in the past, because now you're also saying, I love myself unconditionally and I love myself enough not to do that. It's in the past, folks, so we're not gonna worry too much about it, but it's good to understand what the devil truly indicates here. It's something that limits. That's all you have to look at this card as. It doesn't have to be scary. So we're letting go of limits, we're trusting our instincts, and we're looking at things not as all or nothing. You can ask for a little bit of help. You don't have to do everything on your own. Now let's focus on really what's coming through here at the beginning of the month. For many of you, you might be feeling it right now if you're watching this live. We have Three of Wands. And with this Three of Wands, I love that we see the main figure on it climbing up here. I always like to remind folks that I have the Moon card here that I'm drinking out of today. But I like to remind folks that the Three of Wands should be an active card. It should always be an active card. And an active message too. Traditionally, it's pretty passive. You see a person on a hilltop looking at the ships coming in, but kind of like waiting. And I always think that you can actually attract it sooner by focusing on all the things going on and acknowledging it's happening. I'm going to do some things that'll bring that in. I'm also focusing on this. It's not just sitting up there waiting for it to come to you. So here's 2 or 3 things that I can kind of bring with you on this. First and foremost, if you're trying to have something happen in your life, it's already around you. There may be something you're missing. It may happen sooner than expected. And once it gets underway, there might be a little bit of catch up to do. Don't be afraid to even reach higher than you thought you could, because you will be able to accomplish that. Three of Wands doesn't have a lot of limits to it. We just talked about all the limits of the devil. The Three of Wands is coming through to break through that and shatter it and say, all right, so by the way, this can be someone that chose not to hire you, marry you, partner up with you, accept something that you offered. Their lack of vision means that you can reach higher, that you can accomplish more. So if someone didn't follow through, they just didn't get it, you weren't chosen, good, because something better awaits you. And because maybe you were meant to reach higher than that person, place, or thing. So set your sights higher, reach higher, and keep working towards that. All right? It doesn't make it any less sad or hurtful when you're rejected, but it does contextualize why the universe was actually there on your behalf, saying, I know you want this, I know you're going to be angry, I know you're going to have some self-doubt, and I know you might wonder, did I do something wrong? Am I being punished? No, we're just conspiring to find something better for you, okay? So rejection is protection, divine protection in a strange form, but it really is. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here, was a rejection or a limit so that you could go higher, so that you could accomplish more, okay? And lo and behold, we have a wonderful card in the crowning position, the Ace of Pentacles. The question for you is, are you ready? Are you ready for what's in front of you? Do you want what's coming to you? Also, do you believe in your own worthiness for something that you're trying to manifest? They're all slightly different questions, but they do connect to readiness and worth, if we were to summarize it. Are you ready, and do you feel worthy? Because if you are ready and you feel the worth, then the opportunity comes a lot quicker, and it's easier to say, yes, I want this. If you don't want it, reject it. Say no, keep looking, dig deeper. And so as I'm looking for places, I'm looking for either a rental or a home, probably rental because the market's crazy. But even with the rentals, there's this sort of portal they set up, and I'm like, no. I'm not afraid to say no and say why. You don't have to accept the first thing that comes to you. You have to find something that truly is going to connect. So whether it's a house, a date, a job, or you're deciding to do something different in your life, it's not just the one and only option in front of you. Make sure that it's good enough, okay? Enough said with that. We have the Emperor card here in reverse. For many of you, there could be a person in your life that is questioning your judgment and your leadership skills. You could also be having a difficult time figuring out, how do I get past this person who has so much power or influence? Or how do I step into the shoes of this person that I respect so much? For those of you that might be given an opportunity to step up at work, for instance, or in your life, maybe someone passed away and now you're stepping into the role of patriarch or matriarch. And it's sort of like, I'm not ready for that. The truth of the matter is you are, but there is fear or uncertainty that comes in. And remember, you don't have to do all of this alone. You could also be reaching out for mentorship as well. Ultimately, though, Emperor energy comes through to remind you of the power, the freedom, and the importance of accountability, of stepping in and saying, yeah, I do want this. Yeah, I can do this. So you have the ability to grow and show this leadership if you're ready. If you're not ready, everything's cyclical. There'll be another opportunity, but this window looks pretty compelling to me. So think about it, and think about why maybe for some reason it's taken longer than you thought it should at a certain place, like if you're working or in the family, why people aren't letting you have the voice or the vision that you have always wanted to express, because it's your time, it's your turn if you want it to be. All right. You might also just be pulling away from authority. Whether it's your boss, your mom, or your dad, a lot of times we just have to sort of like say, it's my turn now, it's my vision now, etc. Excuse me, I don't know why someone's asking Ace of Cups. This is Ace of Pentacles. So Ace of Pentacles here. I will say, Ace of Coins is what it says on there, just so you know, someone was asking what it says. And I think I corrected myself. If I didn't, it's Ace of Pentacles, which is an opportunity. All right, let's move on to your heart, your soul, what's going on even in the ego as well. We have the Lovers card. It's fantastic. This is a really good chance for you to be magnetic and to also see yourself in a different light. So we have a reimagined Beauty and Beast card here. And if we go to the Disney fairy tale anyway, not so much probably the core fairy tale that it was based on, there is somebody that's able to see past the facade. And so things are not always what they seem, and you probably have a lot more to offer than sometimes you even see. And so if somebody offers you, opportunity in love or in life or in general, just saying, hey, I think you're the best person for this. And you are looking at yourself and thinking, but why me? Why do they like me? They see something in you. They see potential. They see someone that can grow. So sometimes we can be our own worst enemies, and we're looking at something, and particularly our own, it can be body image, it can be education, it could be age. There's all sorts of things that we hold as biases against ourselves. And this is basically saying, don't do that to yourself. You deserve so much more. There's so much to love, and somebody's ready to give you love and acknowledgement. So when you release the internal tape that's running in your head that's saying something not so nice, the criticism that I was picking up on in dreams could have been self-criticism. So just let it go, suspend that disbelief, and see what happens. And if you keep receiving positive feedback and support, there's some reprogramming that you could do internally. In that case, talking to a counselor would probably help. But we have the Lovers card here, which is, it's good. It portends good things. So that's showing that you're putting out the energy of that to others. The question is, do you see it? This is going to help you when you're looking for a job, looking for a relationship, looking for any opportunity. Feel internally the sort of like mantra, I'm more than enough. I'm also worth loving and cherishing. And other people, I was talking just yesterday to Leo about this, but you're just as lucky as the other person, okay? In the equation. And when you see that, that's when you truly become super powerful, okay? Now let's get to some trickier cards here. And as a reader, I actually enjoy seeing where the challenge is. So it's pretty clear here that for some of you, there's some cleaning up in the environment. We're not talking about the house. We're talking about relationship stuff and possibly like workplace drama. Seven of Swords is people that aren't following through on their promises. Someone that could be saying one thing to you and another thing to someone else. Someone that just might be trying to get away with something and not telling the truth. There is someone or something in your environment that is requiring a second look, additional analysis. And honestly, if somebody is coming through as being less than truthful or dishonest or not accountable, then this is your time to call that out. And you can use some of the tools that we did before. We're talking about the channel messages saying, we talked about this. Help me understand how you got here. But if it's cyclical, if it's a repeated pattern, you could just say, this seems to be a pattern. Why is it happening? You can be more firm in that situation because they know that you know, and you know that they know that you know. And so a lot of times it's just basically putting that final line in the sand saying, this is the kind of like final straw here. It's either going to change or not going to change. I will say this, if you are in an environment like this and it's indicative of like your working environment and someone's just not doing what they're supposed to be doing, that has to change. How you decide to go about that, whether you're talking to, I don't know if it's going to help talking to them. You should start with them, but then you may have to go to someone else, or you may have to decide, why am I putting up with this? Going back into what we just talked about, I deserve better, right? I deserve more. I can find better. I can find more. Because this is a test. This is a test of self-worth and self-respect. And when you embody this, this doesn't happen anymore. This is just the universe asking you, in the character of that person, do you value yourself? Are you done with this lesson? Because we can keep repeating it, but it would be more fun to bring you this. And ultimately, one thing that I do like about Beauty and the Beast if we again go to what they're pulling on here with the sort of Disney story, it ultimately was about breaking a spell, right? Breaking a cycle. And what was the way to do that? Through unconditional love. Loving, actually, and I mean in the Disney telling of it, loving Belle enough to sacrifice himself. But that was actually unconditional love, we can put it there. But let's put the unconditional love to self here, because we don't need any more self-sacrifice or anything like that going on for you. I think it's just seeing the value and the love and the opportunity in front of you, and trusting that there could be someone that could love you in that way, love you more than themselves. Okay? So if there's someone who just loves themselves more, or is lying, or is not being accountable to you, it's time to change. And it's not really you, it's in the environment. So there's something around you that needs to be improved or dealt with, and you'll figure that out. It may have already come to pass. This and this, all three of these cards, one alone doesn't bother me, but the Devil, the Moon, and the Seven of Swords, they do require a little bit more analysis. So Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Coins here, new opportunities on the horizon require a lot more discernment. The discernment, the questions that you'll ask yourself are, does this make me happy? Is this limiting me, limiting my growth? Is this holding me back? Are they telling me everything? Can I trust what they commit to do, or have they proven through their own actions and lack of accountability that this is just lip service? That's what you need to ask yourself, particularly if you're in a relationship or a job and you're trying to decide, do I stay or do I go? Based on these cards, it does look like if something came to pass and it's no longer in your life, it was a big, big, big blessing, because they weren't ready. They being either the person or the job or the environment, they just didn't see what was in front of them, and you're better off without that, okay? If you're continuing to work with someone or something and that energy is there, you're gonna have to have a deeper conversation and really use your alligator energy that we talked about, and put some bite into that as well. That's a time where I do want you to kind of be like the King of Swords reversed and just get to the point, okay? Let's go on to the next card. We have hopes, fears, and opportunities here. We have the Five of Cups, and we have a chance to look at it from a different point of view. Always hidden within the Five of Cups. It's either going to be 3 or 2, depending on the artist's perception here. So we have a Two of Cups here in the background. So someone loves you, someone cares about you. We see that also showing up in how you're portraying yourself to others. So the question is, are you ready to see the positive? You usually need to go through a mourning period. In different decks, this looks like a grieving person. We see her crying here as well. A lot of times it almost looks like the Death card if you just glance at it quickly. So you need to let go of something or grieve something, and then that's why I was asking you to celebrate, to look at something positive. There could be something beautiful on the horizon, okay? So Five of Cups, changing direction, changing perception, changing your mind. You're allowed to change. You're supposed to change. And that's the opportunity. Some of you might be afraid that things won't match your expectations. There's always risk associated with growth and change. But there's a lot to love, and there's a lot to look forward to as well. It ends on a very positive note. And if we just look at what's happening right now for many of you, Three of Wands, what's on the horizon, or what you're creating, Ace of Pentacles. Near future, a chance for you to reclaim your power. And then the future, it's the Four of Wands. So do we have some other stuff here? Sure. But I see love in 2 forms coming through here. You are showing up as lovable, and someone's going to come in and say, hey, I really want to commit. It doesn't have to be marriage. It could be. It could also be a recommitment after a period of saying, you know what, we could have done better. You know what, I take some accountability on this. You know what, I was afraid to tell you. I was afraid of rejection. So there could be a coming into the light moment for some of you in a relationship, but for the rest of you, you may be shedding a skin and truly loving yourself, and then someone else sees that and comes through and rewards that growth within. So this is friendship, firm foundations, new beginnings when it comes to partnership, and yeah, it could be love or marriage. It's a great card to end with in the outcome. So you're headed in a good direction. You have a couple of things to focus on as we get into this next portion. the expanded forecast, we're going to drill into the areas of health, wealth, love, and destiny and clarify all of these points. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at your health card first. So in the health position, we have this nocturnal card here, signs from heaven. I was definitely feeling this energy last night. Lots and lots of messages coming through as I was trying to, to sleep here. So if you've never done yourself the credit of having a dream journal, this is the time to do it. And it's just saying thank you for the messages from above and reminding me of your presence. So this can also be a meditation journal. I know a lot of people will say, I don't remember my dreams. Then there are people that say, I don't get anything in meditations. There might be other people that just get random things while they're walking or whatever. Whenever you're getting your epiphanies, your intuition, or the aha moments, I'd love for you to have a little book to write them down in. Musicians, this is how they get their song lyrics. Sting and Taylor Swift, and I'm sure many others, they have a book where they just write all this stuff in, and then they pull it, and they figure like they have the melody, they compose things, they're like, oh, let's grab this and put that with this, and you never know how things are going to come together. You never know how far in advance you might be seeing something. For myself, that's the most difficult thing when you get a clairvoyant message for yourself. It's easier usually for others, but you'll see that something's coming, but the universe won't always give you a clear time. And so the more you practice, the more you're like, oh, these sorts of messages typically take this amount of time. Or this is less of a time message and more of something I need to do to bring it about. The only way you can learn your own messages and your own symbols is by keeping track of them, okay? Focus on quality of sleep and maybe quantity too. One thing that I've had to do in order to make these early rising readings is I went to bed at 7 o'clock last night. It was still light. And I have to do that just like anyone in broadcasts that gets up at 3 in the morning because you can't get up otherwise. I wouldn't be able to function and have a communication with you. It's not permanent, but I made adjustments because I need a certain amount of sleep. I need at least 6, 7, 8 hours in order to function. So I just did the backward math so that I could do it. So I do need quality and I also need a certain quantity. So this card is pretty clear when we're looking at health. Make sure you're getting a combination of both. I'm going to expand this a bit and look at the cards for some additional messages. A reminder, I'm here to help you with energy and kind of rearranging your thoughts so that you can be more productive and manifest better. If you're experiencing any issues in your body, or if you're going through something really difficult emotionally, reach out to the proper person. I'm here to help kind of more with the metaphysics versus the physics. All right. That being said, let's look at the cards and see what they have to say. So emotional drama and trauma could be coming up again in this period of time. Everything that I just said holds true here. If you need to talk to someone, do so. Whether it's a friend or a professional, the moon card is about talking about your true hopes and fears. When we look into the past, some of you may have released an addiction or some sort of a habit in your life. It is showing up very much in the past. There could be a trigger going on right now, though, that makes you wonder about this. So again, working with someone to make sure that that stays in the past is important. There could be also something resurfacing that you didn't recognize until you were an adult. So sometimes we don't know how to process grief or anxiety as a kid, and then it comes back as an adult. So there might just be some sort of a trauma that needs to be dealt with as well. So it's mostly emotional that I'm picking up on so far, which is important. We sometimes overlook that. The rest of this looks pretty good. If you decide to prioritize things this month, we see progress with the Three of Wands. We see opportunity. There might be a different way coming through that you didn't expect with the Ace of Pentacles. And the only thing that can stand in the way is sometimes this fear of, I don't know if I can do it, or you say you're going to do it, but you're not really truly ready. So this particular card is just saying, be honest with yourself. Be honest in how truly prepared, present, and ready you are to do something. Because Seven of Swords can be something that we tell ourselves when we know differently. And also make sure that you're very picky and discerning about who it is that you're going to connect with to make sure that they have your best interest at heart, okay? I see a lot of support, ready and willing to kind of come through for you So whatever it is you're embarking on, I feel like you don't have to do it alone. Yeah, most of the messages have to do with emotions and releasing old habits, setting into motion something better. So you might be deciding to focus on health in a different light. And then the rest of you, just anything that's going on with fear or dreams or nightmares, because that's a very sleep-oriented card, making sure that you're dealing with that. Okay? All right. Let's move on to your wealth card. So I love this one. We have the star gathering coming through. It says, stars aligned, remembering the home, soul family. You may be reconnecting with an old coworker. You may get news from an old friend that's going to help you with respect to your career. You might also be going back to something that you did before, because there is a nostalgic energy or a returning energy to this. It could also just be a decision that I've done everything that I can in my life to please others. And again, it's interesting. We did get both lovers and devil energy here. So this one is saying, if we pull the two cards here again, I don't have to, I'm choosing not to kind of exist with these conditions. Like someone saying, I love you as long as you do this, or, we've always anticipated that you're going to do this, or this, so you better do this, or when am I going to have a child, or whatever it is. All the conditions are a grandchild. So we're going to go to the unconditional love right now, and this is going to open you up. I was mentioning sort of relationship stuff here, but with a job, with yourself, this is coming through because it's the ones that we love the most that tend to sometimes put those conditions on things. Your mom, your partner, your best friend. They're like, you can't do this because we said we were going to do this, or I'm afraid of losing you, or I don't think you can do it, or whatever the limit is. So if you've always wanted to be this, or this is your chance to kind of go into that truth, to step into that light, to be the star, because that's what it says, star gathering. So this is about being authentic and saying, I've always wanted to focus on this. I'm choosing to focus on this now. Okay. Focusing on what's availing itself to you, there could be an offer on the table. You've learned what you don't want. Advocate for what you want in this new offering, in this new opportunity. Stepping into the spotlight could be something that some of you feel a little bit anxious about because you want to protect yourself, because you don't want to feel the rejection. I think you're going to be fine if you're ready to do it. The truth of this is the vultures only come if they smell the fear, if they smell something enticing. So if you are not afraid, the vultures will go somewhere else, and you're going to attract instead the beautiful stars, the beautiful light energy. So be sure, be comfortable, be confident, and I think that's going to be the key piece here. There is a chance for you to rise up, to do something different. It is a bit of for some of you, it might feel like it's a stretch, but it's worth it. All right, specifically here, I kind of covered a lot of this already, so I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I think the main thing here is if there was an agreement that was too restrictive, it constricted you, it held you back, now is the time for you to liberate yourself from that. Break the contract if you need to, if it's something you can afford to break. It's not just about money. That's another piece here. You actually have the potential to step up, to have more money. Delegating was also something that we talked about here. There seems to be some resistance to leadership, or maybe leadership won't allow you to go to that next level. So focus on energies around leadership and autonomy and figure out why that's coming through. I think you could probably do better than your most recent experience or what's going on around you, because the Seven of Swords is just saying that they disappointed or they didn't come through in the way that they were supposed to. So reach out, network. I mean, if you haven't been networking, now is the time to network, because we have the Four of Wands here. So if you're in a current job, I feel like something has to shift. If you're looking for a job or opportunity, it feels like it comes through a trusted person in your life because of the Lovers and the Four of Wands. And for those of you that might be retired, there's really a question of like, what do I do next? What do I want to spend my time and energy in? You're not too old. This is an illusion card here. Age has nothing to do with this bigger equation. So let's just take it out. It's more about experience. It's more about you doing something that feels truly engaging. Okay. I like what I see overall, and I like that we got resource energy. It's more about freedom and happiness and passion in whatever it is that you're doing with your time and your energy. Okay? Let's move on to relationships. We have a beautiful card here with strength and guidance coming through. And it reminds me of sort of we talked earlier this week about Orion, I believe. This looks like the Orion star nebula, right? And a star factory or star nebula, it's kind of where all this, like it can be from a supernova, but there's all this dust and all these particles, and it's where basically you have all the ingredients to start something new. So there is a chance to really take relationships to a level that you didn't expect, or to find something new. And we talked about strength coming through earlier. You are being guided towards higher love, towards better relationships and better experiences, so never doubt that. Even if that means stepping away from someone or someone stepping away from you, that's all part of that bigger plan. Let's break it down into 3 different categories. If you're looking for love, if you're in a relationship, if you're looking for love, or if you're single and happy. So for those of you already in a relationship, it's never too late to bring it to the next level. You're still growing because of the star factory energy here that's part of this, because you have 2 star cards right in rapid succession. So let's just see what's going on. It does feel to me like there was something from the past that has reared its head again. So the Devil, the Moon, and the 7 of Swords, it's basically going to be dealt with during this cycle of time, from when you watch this till the end of June. And it does feel like you can get past it because we have the Lovers and the 4 of Wands. But if you decide, I don't want to do this and I'm valuing my own safety and protection, that also works out for you. You can choose to stay and fight, or you can choose to just say, like, you know what, I fought enough and I'm ready for something else, and something better is coming. So if it's not good enough for you, you get to weigh this out and make room for something better. So either way, it will work. But in a relationship, here are the things these are your 3 sort of tests that it has to pass. Can we be honest with each other? Are we willing to talk about hopes and fears together? And if something isn't working, can we also be transparent enough to see that and admit to where it's broken? Maybe we need help with that, but we have to be willing to let each other go and breathe and do what we need to do. We need to talk about what makes us afraid, and there has to be honesty. So no holding back, talking about the hopes and fears, and honesty and transparency. If those things can't come together, then something better awaits. Even if you have to step away from something, this is still keeping the bridge. You don't have to break the bridge, basically. You still have the connection there. You can leave on a friendly note, okay? But love, honesty, freedom, transparency, these things have to kind of come through. And then there's just a question. Are you invested? Are we invested in this? Does this still make sense? That's the crux of it. Interestingly enough, communication's missing from this. I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. But we're not seeing open communication. We got no swords, right? So I might want to look at that later, or I'll put it up for you to look at when we go into viewers and readers' choice. So where is it? Because it's missing from the equation. So that's one thing that I'm noticing as I'm looking at this. All right, for those of you that are looking for love this month, it does feel like it's a good time. Part 1 is to make sure that you love and accept yourself, not in an egotistical or narcissistic way, but truly in an accepting way, like saying, I love who I am, I love what I have to offer. And I'm looking for someone else who loves themselves and also loves me in that same way. So self-respect, mutual love, 50-50. That's what you can bring in this month. The person may be younger or older than expected. Something about age might not be exactly what you thought, but that isn't a deal breaker necessarily. It's just they come in a different package than expected. Here's the things you want to be aware of. First of all, like I said earlier, there's some other relationships in your life that need to be cleared up a little bit. So all the stuff that I talked about for people that might be in an existing love relationship could also be coming through in your family or your work engagements. So cleaning that up makes more room for the good stuff. So you got to still do the same cleaning that I talked about for those of you in relationships. So there's overlap for those of you in a relationship and looking for a relationship, because we all have a core relationship that might be pulling in some of this. The other thing that I'm seeing here is it could progress quickly. 3 of Wands happens faster than expected. 4 of Wands gets pretty serious pretty quickly. And so you might be wondering, like, can I do this? And this person could also be very much engaged here. So on your side, maybe just slow it down a little bit, but on their side, they may be willing to go faster. And there's just a question of, are you ready? Make sure you do the work. Even the same work that we talked about for those existing relationships should be a test here. Can I tell them anything within reason? Have we talked about everything in the past? Do I really know this person? Do they have any controlling sort of personality traits? And have they told? Really, it is just about truthfulness and the ability for you to be as free as you can be. I think as long as that exists, you got a good chance this month, okay? And now finally, if you're single and happy, there could be a work opportunity on the horizon. I still see an opportunity of love or friendship presenting itself. I think the main thing for everybody this month is to really look at the people around you and do a little bit of spring cleaning there and decide, is this where I want to spend my time and energy? It could be an extracurricular for those of you that are students or retired, and you're thinking, does this club, does this sport, does this activity really make sense? Or is it just not delivering on the promise when I got started with it? Okay. Let's move on to your destiny card, and then we'll expand the forecast using the other deck that you chose for me today. All right, so your destiny card, which is malleable, is the bear. Destiny is where you're headed. And it's interesting, I was just doing some reading this morning while I was walking the dog. This kind of reminds me of where the economy may be headed, at least Wall Street. I'm not sure about all the international markets, but we're heading into a little bit more of a bearish market where things are slowing down a little bit. As a totem, if we take the financial piece out, to me, the bear can be either an awakening or a hibernation period. And it may be asking you to decide, what do you want right now? Are you ready to kind of like snuggle in like the bear for winter? Or like we're in this northern hemisphere right now, everything's waking up. Are you ready to kind of like get the sleepy sand out of your eyes and embrace the day ahead? So I look at the rising sun on this one, and I think it's really about an awakening. And it's always difficult when you first need to get out of bed. Like I said earlier, I'm getting used to early awakenings now. I had to get more sleep, but it's okay. I look at the clock now at 3 every morning and think, all right, it's time to get up. And it's okay. But the first 2 or 3 days, I thought, what is going on? We can adjust. Human bodies can reset. It's a fabulous sort of, to use a Fiona Apple song title, it's an extraordinary machine. So all you have to do is fine tune it a bit. And the bear card is basically saying to you, do some fine tuning. You can get used to this shift or this change or this movement. Bears are grumpy, and bears can be reactive, just like the alligator can. So try to temper the emotional side. Try to avoid your temper. And I think that's going to be key. All right, let's go ahead now and look at the big idea. We're going to now use a different deck because we had a tie today. So we're now moving to the Sun and Moon deck. And we're going to take a look and see what the overarching big idea is for today. It'll be interesting to see if we get some of the same cards. That's kind of what's cool about using 2 different decks for the same reading. So we have the Emperor card, and we absolutely did get the same card, and it is reversed. Let's take a look here at where it appeared before. It's in the near future here. Also reversed, just like it came through here. And again, kind of looking at the same energy here of the sun with this bear. So this is asking you to kind of like go counter to experience, wisdom, or reason. And this is a young emperor. This is what I like. This is going to what I talked about. I said age is going to be a surprising element here. You could be meeting somebody who is an old soul or who is they tell you their age and you think to yourself, how is that possible? There is such youth and vitality, and you don't even look your age. You don't look it, you don't act it, you are embodying a different age. That's because the soul is timeless, ageless, deathless. This body, however, is not. But sometimes the sort of soul energy can kind of permeate it. So people that really have that youthful energy, up until their death, they look much, much younger. My mom did, for instance. She looked a good 20 years younger than her age. So sometimes people just have that sort of joy for life, right? So you're going to meet somebody that surprises you, and you may surprise yourself. And also, this is saying you're never too old, you're never too young. Let's just get ageism out of the equation, okay? We got the busy bees coming through there. We have a little lamb or sheep coming through, which is showing that you are attracting people that want to follow you. You've got what it takes, Virgo, to lead. And also, if you can't find what you're looking for, why don't you start it yourself? Why can't you do something yourself? Understanding, of course, for some of you, there may be resource limitations, time and energy limitations, but this card is again asking you, maybe there's another way. So look beyond the obvious, look beyond all of the same cycles, and instead of rinsing and repeating, try something completely different. Beautiful card. Glad that we're working with 2 decks. Thanks for tying up the cards today. It was a good choice. All right, we're going to look at blessings and blocks next, looking at something that can really help, something that might block you. All right. We'll pull both of them at once and see what's coming through. The blessing and the block. All right. So the blessing is that something comes into clarity. 8 of Swords in reverse is seeing things for what they are. In this particular illustration, we see someone that's being controlled like a puppet, right? And they kind of don't know what's going on, but all of a sudden, the strings are revealed, and you get to cut those strings, and you get to liberate yourself. 8 of Swords typically has blindfolds, not on this one, but you would normally see blindfolds. And so they're coming off on this particular card. And so now you can discern between fear and reality, what's possible and what's not, and you get to make a choice. And if we look at the, all of these minor arcana cards have captions on them, and this one has the caption of interference. So you're actually fine-tuning things a little bit and going past the interference. So things are clarifying, things are getting clearer. Sometimes when we take off the blindfolds, we don't like what we see though. So it's a blessing in disguise. You may see something you don't want to see, but it's going to help you embrace that opportunity when it comes in and think, all right, that wasn't it. This certainly is. Believe it or not, the block could be love. You could be entering into a new relationship, and it could take you away from your focus. There are worse problems in life. The block could also be family or friends stepping in and questioning you, saying, can you do this? Are you sure? Could also be pressure to start a family, to get married. But ultimately, there are worse things than having the energy of love or friends or community around you. All you have to do, based on everything that we've talked about today, is to stand your ground and to let them know, that's what you want for me. That's not what I want for me. I know you love me, but when you say that, it limits what I can be. We want to bring people into this energy, not this energy. You got both in your spread, so we have to keep looking at that and reminding them of that. Love can sometimes bring in that energy of restrictions or limitations, and so you don't need them anymore, okay? I see it as a blessing coming through as a block, though. I feel like some of you might just find a really great partnership opportunity, friendship or love, and it's distracting you a bit. So let's look at it at its highest, most elevated energy, and it's that, or someone loves you so much that they want to make sure that you do something, but it's a projection of what they want, and it's a vicarious sort of achievement that you don't have to do. You don't have to live vicariously for them, especially if it's mom, teacher, boss, friend, whatever. A lot of times these authority figures come in and they're like, they want something for you, but it's really because they didn't get to do it for themselves, or because they're just trying to exert their power and control you, and you don't want to do that anymore, okay? So those are your blessings and blocks. Let's go ahead and move on to the viewers and readers' choice. Let me grab my keyboard and let's take a look at some of these messages. I think like it's impossible not to look at the devil and lover's energy. I wrote down communication, so I don't know if that's the one I want to look at, but I'm going to put it down there as one of the ones that you can look at. So let me just share what I'm looking at, and we'll put some things up for a vote here. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to put communication as something that you can choose if you want to. Communication. And I'm just going to leave it at that, whatever messages need to come through on that. Awakening is another thing here. I'm going to make it awakening to the possibilities. Beautiful sort of energy there. I'm going to make communication more than that. Saying what you need to say, a topic that I sometimes put on the weekend to vote for. And let me see what else you can look at. I actually decided what I want to look at, and it's going to be discerning, because I feel like there's an offer in front of you and you have to decide if it's good. So I'm going to look at discerning that offer. So the other thing here that I'm just going to look up is navigating relationships, because there could be some stuff also with those cards that are coming through that you want me to look at. If you make them close enough, I'll look at both if they're within 1 to 2 points. Otherwise, I'll take the lead. All right, so let's go ahead and look at discerning. How can I tell if this is a cyclical thing happening again? We want to make sure El Diablo stays in the past. We don't want to see the devil coming through again. So how can we be discerning enough to know the difference between like this and this? Patience and time, not always what we want to hear. So we've got temperance, but temperance came through in the reverse state. So a lot of times jumping to a conclusion or kind of like jumping in way too quickly to something is going to be what you want to avoid. So really taking your time, really one step at a time too. The devil energy will reveal itself because someone wants you to sign on the dotted line, make an immediate decision, or say yes or say no without having all the information. So I feel like you're going to be able to discern, because the freedom here is the freedom to take your time or decide. Not like weeks and weeks and weeks, but like if you just say, let me sleep on it, and they say, no, you have to do it now, that's kind of your red flag, okay? So if someone's rushing you or trying to brush things under the rug, be like Apollo in the background and get to the bottom of that, right, buddy? How's it going? He says, Dad, I'm tired of you looking at all of those devil cards. Let's go into something lighter and brighter. I'm with you, buddy. All right, so let's see what you have chosen for me. Awakening to the possibilities. Yay, by a very strong 50% of the vote. Thanks for that. So what we're going to look at is understanding the sort of hibernation energy that came through here in the awakening, and also looking at something that may not appear as like what it is, what it isn't what it appears to be, looking beyond that illusion as well. So let's awaken to the possibilities, and let's also see, are you missing something? So I just want to make sure that I got it. Yes, awaken to the possibilities. So let's read on that question and see what's coming through. You've got 2 cards, okay? And look at Apollo now. He's so cute. He's got his head between the two. Now he's tuned in 100%. All right, so your 2 cards. The first one we're going to look at here is what's holding you back a little bit. We just did blessings and blocks, but look at the caption on this one. It's fear of failure. The 7 of Pentacles is actually about growth and recovery, and with it is typically a test that comes through to test if you're truly ready to move to the next level. So a lot of times this is a test of not overcommitting. So if you're just reading it for face value, a lot of times 7 of Pentacles is saying, I spent too much or I committed to too much and it gets me into trouble. But the elevated version of it is, I've learned the importance of patience, which came through with temperance. Because in a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, we would see a guy kind of like putting his hand on his shovel, looking at the tree or the bush that's growing and thinking, why isn't it growing faster? Why is it taking so long? So when you learn the key to patience and when you trust that you've learned your lesson and when you don't accept failure as an option, the Seven of Pentacles is just a stepping stone to the abundance and sustainability that we see with the Nine of Pentacles here at the center. So you're on your way to something more, but there's a little bit of fear or uncertainty from the past. There could also be this desire to please that could lead you into the Seven of Pentacles, where you say, sure, I can do that, and okay, I'll do that too. But you know that the more you commit, the less likely it's going to happen. Or you know when you put your credit card down that this is costing just a little bit too much. So whether it's energy or money or investment of time in a relationship, you need more return or you need to pull back just a little bit here. By doing that, you open up a new opportunity, which is help, which might be more money, which might be something that you didn't imagine, because people will keep letting you do as much as you're really willing and ready to do. So when you say no, then they're like, but we need this, we'll pay more. Or you could say, I can do it, but it's going to take longer and I need more money or something like that. Open the door for more. So that's the bumper sticker for everything that I just said. Open the door for more, and that's how you can overcome the Seven of Pentacles. You never know until you ask or push back. You don't have to keep saying yes. You can say why. You can ask for more. You can push for time. All of these things, it's a different opportunity than what you expected, but by asking, by pushing, by exploring, you see things that weren't there because you have to open up those alligator jaws and speak. Then we also have the Ten of Wands here in reverse. You look at the top, it's the pressure, or in this case, the oppression. It's feeling like you're being pushed down. But ultimately, the Ten of Wands is graduation, it's release. Some of you just need to let it go. And that's what this is really saying is I'm not going to be pushed anymore. I'm not going to feel this pressure. I'm not going to worry about if or how or when I can do this. It's happening, and I'm ready to move on to the next thing. So you're being asked to let go of something, to finish something up, and to ask for more than you thought you could get. You're the vehicle. You're the agent of change here. It's not coming to you. You're creating it. There may also be a move that can bring an opportunity for you as well, because the Ten of Wands can be move or travel, but it is about getting out of your current situation so that you can open up new doors. All right? All right. We're going to move on to a special part of the reading now. Sun, rising, and moon specific messages. And this was something I started new last month. It seems to be pretty popular, so we'll keep doing it. You can always use my reading for all aspects of your chart, but these are the three most common. So let me pull the cards and I'll break down the messages for you. Sun, rising, and moon as the moon. All right. We'll start with your sun sign. We have the Hierophant coming through. The Hierophant in this particular deck also has a sort of youthful energy to it. So many of you, Virgo sun, could be dealing with bureaucracy or establishment. And you're being asked to, or given the opportunity to kind of like breathe new life into something. Old systems have a hard time changing. So I guess for you, the question is how much change is enough for you? And if you're not happy with the amount of change, again, you always have this opportunity to find a place that's more vibrant, more contemporary, or to do your own thing. But there is this sort of meeting in the middle. I don't know if you can get everything you want, but you should try. And then you have to ask yourself how much is enough. Because there is something traditional, bureaucratic, or structured about what you're doing, and you're going to be pushing at the walls of that structure just a little bit to see how far it'll bend. And one of the things that we saw is you never know until you ask. So I do think that you can absolutely survive in a very structured, rigid, or conservative environment, but there has to be some movement for your part to feel that sense of satisfaction in order to overcome that feeling of being trapped or limited. So how much is enough movement? How much is enough freedom for you? How much fill in the blank is enough for you? And that's the question that sun sign is asking itself this month. So that's basically what you're born under. This is the default if you're watching this particular reading, and hopefully that will help you. Let's look at rising and ascendant, which often shows up in work or in external relationships. It's the you that you want people to see. The sun was the real you, but the rising and ascendant is the projected you, like a film canister kind of pushing that out into the world. So let's see how you're showing up to others. Let's see if there's opportunities here. And the biggest thing is in self-worth. Five of Pentacles in reverse, I'll take it. Five of Pentacles upright is saying, I'm not willing or ready to see the people or opportunities around me, and I don't value myself as much as I should. Five of Pentacles in reverse is saying, I'm finally at a point in my life where it's not good enough for this or this to happen, or I'm not accepting what was good enough in the past, or that someone in my past told me that I couldn't do something because of X, Y, or Z. So it's an awakening. So when we're looking at energy around work, this card comes through to say, definitely push for more. In negotiations, the other party may not be giving as much as they should, but it could come from an internal sort of system that you need to reset. So get out of that feeling like all you have to do is break even, or it's okay to give more. If you're really looking for abundance and having more than enough, push for a little bit more so that you can save, so that you can help other people in your life. It's not all about you. If you're taking care of a family and other people are depending on you, you need a little bit more so you can take care of them too. So this is really advocating for making sure that you're getting more than enough and releasing the scars that come through in childhood and in our past. It could be recent past too, but oftentimes Five of Pentacles is from when you were a kid. So whether it's your parents, your siblings, or your teachers, something kind of set in there, and you have a chance to let that get out and be stronger. It's also a health card saying take care of your anything basically below the waist, your knees, your legs, your ankles, your extremities there. Make sure that there's enough circulation, make sure that you're moving. And then when it comes to, it might be cutting losses for some of you too when it comes to investments or debts and things of that nature. But ultimately, you're going to get more because the card is reversed. And we already talked about the Seven of Pentacles, and you know how to do that now, okay? Someone isn't showing up the way that they should. Someone isn't paying attention to you, or someone isn't giving you what you need. And so in the areas of work or in some of those important public or external relationships, you're going to say, I need more, okay? And you're going to prioritize personal healing. Let's move on to Moon. Moon is the thing that we kind of, like the part of ourselves that we don't always share with others. It's the developmental piece. It's the personal hopes and fears and things like that. It usually shows up in relationships, but this is the part of you that is coming through and saying, don't forget about me. And you got the moon in the moon. So here's the cool thing. Instincts are sharp as attack this month, particularly if you have Virgo moon. So if you feel yes to this or no to this, like trust that instinct. If there's something that really brings you a sense of passion, it's coming through and it's saying, when are we going to do something about this? This is something that has been burning for a while. Let's do something. Let's let it see the light of day. And ultimately, the moon card in its upright is about honesty and intuition. So you're just being asked to share this part of you that very few people get to see, because vulnerability makes people, I mean, not in a all the time, all the place sort of, but like if you're really mindful about letting people into something that moves you, makes you feel vulnerable, it's an inviting energy if used appropriately. So there's a part of you that you may think's vulnerable, but really it's universal, and it's coming through and saying like, hey, let's do something with this, okay? I also like to just look at these three together because it's still ultimately Virgo, just the different aspects. So if we look at them together, it's being able to navigate old systems but infuse new light into it. It's prioritizing self-worth and healing wounds from the past. Also recognizing the people around you that might need help and fixing those sorts of things. And it's revealing what you're afraid to reveal, because truthfully, it's just fear that's holding you back. And you may be surprised at how wonderful the sort of experience is when you just sort of put that passion or that fear or that energy out there. Okay? So those are your sun, rising, and moon messages. We are now through the main portion, and we're going to take a look here. Sorry, not the expanded. We're going to look at the meditation in just a moment. Before I do that, I only kind of remind you a couple of times here. Hit that subscribe button if you've enjoyed this and this is your first time, so you don't miss out on anything. Give me a follow on social media as well. And if you'd love to show some support, you can do that in real time right now. Okay, so let's talk about what's coming up next. I like to do a very brief meditation followed by a final card. And the final card is your chance to silently ask me a question. So a lot of other readers would take questions in real time. Because my readings already are a little bit longer, I can't do that. And because I cover so much, I feel like it's all here for you. But I know that I would always want to sort of like ask a question. So you'll get a chance in just a moment. So be thinking about that, write it down, repeat it if you need to while we're meditating, and then I'll pick up on that energy as we go to the final question. Before that, though, we're going to do a meditation, and usually it's about a minute to a minute and a half, and then I play a sound, either singing bowl or a crystal pyramid for about half a minute to a minute. So this is like 2 minutes total, and then we'll get into that final question. All right, so I'm going to let you vote on the instrument that you would like, and then we're going to meditate. All right. All right, there you go. Those are the instruments that I have available to use today. And let's get ready for the meditation. We're going to work with let's see, what do I like here? We already did like a star factory the other day. I want to look at the rising sun. I really loved what we were looking at here in the Emperor card. I think this is beautiful. So let's imagine that you're facing the rising sun, or like the bear that's waking up from a nap. And let's embrace the solar energy and work on the solar plexus in this meditation. So close your eyes. Imagine that there is a new day that is dawning upon you. No matter what your weather is, this is the perfect climate. So imagine your ideal temperature and see the sun rising, see your ideal environment around you. Maybe there are flowers, maybe it's a beach, maybe you're in a hammock. I don't care where you're at, but I want you to be able to be outside and see the sun rising. As you start to breathe, imagine that the rays of light start to connect with each of the energy points in your body. The 7 that we know, then there are several points above and below, and then each and every little cell in the body. Just imagine that all of the light particles are coming at you in these beautiful ribbons of light, and as they connect to the energy points in your body, it's as if you were plugging in and recharging on a cosmic level. The energy point that feels the biggest connection, of course, is the solar plexus. So with this next breath, imagine that as you breathe, you see this bright ball of energy and light starting to emit from the solar plexus, your belly button area. And then imagine that there are rays of light now that are shining out of you. No longer are you plugging into the sun. You're actually tapping into the inner power that you've always had. With this energy, you have the ability actually to levitate, to go higher, to see the world from a different perspective. So imagine that your light, your body, your energy is going higher, and each ray of light is an intention, is a wish, is a dream that you're pushing down to the planet. You could be wishing for peace. You could be setting into motion something beautiful for yourself. You could be blessing someone else. Keep it in the realm of blessings and opportunities and positivity. While you're doing that, I am going to play the singing bowl. So just relax. We'll do this, and then in about a minute or less, I'll come back and look at your final question. Keep breathing, keep seeing your light increase. Feel a sense of lightness as well, not just in the sort of like amount of light, but also feeling emotionally lighter than you were before. All right, take a deep breath. See your energy coming back to earth, coming back into your body, re-entering through the solar plexus, feeling that lightness and that brightness each and every day of your life, knowing that you have the power to create, you have the power to do whatever you need to do. Focus now on that final question or that final sort of insight that you would like a little bit more information on, and I'm going to shuffle the cards and see what's coming through for you. And we got a great card which aligns to what I talked about earlier. I'm going to pull up that lovely message that I had with the Three of Cups in our presentation earlier, so we can see both together here. So we'll do the picture in picture so you can see the two. All right, so what I said earlier is, what are you doing to be fully present today? When was the last time you said thank you or I love you? Taking time to celebrate is important. Acknowledging others and their contributions is important. So all of that still holds true. Plus, I'd like to add a few things to that. So first of all, with the Three of Cups, first of all, it's a very open and engaging card. Literally, it shows energy coming into your life, usually in the form of people. So for those of you that are looking for love, this is very much a yes. And for those of you looking for opportunity, it's very much a yes as well. Even if you're looking for something, there's options. You get to be choosy with the Three of Cups. The only thing that's kind of challenging with Three of Cups is sometimes it lacks commitment. It's choice, sometimes prioritized over commitment. So one thing that I would kind of put out there to you for homework or consideration is, what do you want? What are you looking for? The more specific you are, the more accurate and helpful the universe can be when it supplies whatever it is that you seek. So the Three of Cups is options, but sometimes it's like the universe just, I use the metaphor a lot, like throwing pasta on the wall to see what sticks because it's not sure what you want. So take a moment to really sit down and put together it doesn't have to be like a real list, but just think to yourself, this is what I want, this is how I intend to do it, I'm ready for this now, rather than just like, say you're looking for a job or relationship, just say like, I want a job, or when's my love coming in? Instead, think to yourself, I'm ready for a committed partner that is emotionally available, financially independent, healthy, has done the work on themselves, is open to love, abundance, and kindness, and can give unconditional love, something like that. We're not talking about the physical attributes. You can do a little mood board for that kind of crazy stuff, but we're talking about the big things. Put out the big stuff. And when it comes to like looking for a home, you can be really granular on that. But people and opportunities, we're looking at the big, broad strokes, trusting that the universe can fill in the smaller pieces, okay? But it's a yes, and it shows me new things coming in. Now, for existing relationships and people that are trying to figure out what to do with things that are already happening, this is about rekindling the flame. Three of Cups is a reminder that even if you've been married for 30, 40 years, there's still an importance of having fun. It may look very different at this point in the relationship than it did when you first started dating, but there still needs to be that spark, that intimacy, that togetherness. And it could also be about making sure that you're spending time with other people too. So there you go. And just commitment in general. How committed are you to something? Because this is always a questioning card. So if you've been given a contract or if you're trying to figure out if you want to date someone, the Three of Cups is the questioning and the consideration portion of it, but it's not necessarily landing on the decision. So see where you're at with that. Okay. That, my friends, is everything for today. One more time, if you'd like to show support, it's free to subscribe. It's free to like. I'd love to see you across other social platforms so you know how to find me. Here's the information. And I'm going to give a little bit of thanks and gratitude for everybody that gave back. Before I do that, just a quick reminder. Today, after this video, I'll put up the next 3 videos so you can set reminders. I should have it up by sometime in this afternoon. It takes me time to generate the links and all of that, but I'll make sure that Sunday, Monday, and Thursday are up by the end of today so that you'll be able to say set reminder. But you can always go to my website for just a reminder of when it's happening. Okay. Now for a little bit of gratitude. Anybody that, first of all, I'll just take a glance over there. I can see we already have some super stickers and super chats, so thank you. I do see some familiar names in chat, so thank you so much to those of you that already said that you're patrons or those of you that are channel members. You make it all possible. All right, give me a moment now. I'm going to welcome the newest channel members and anybody that gave back today. So let's begin with the new channel members first. All right, so, or anybody that just rejoined. Okay, and this is within the last day. So Mallory Knox, thank you so much. It looks like you're a brand new channel member. Good to have you as a part of this team and family. Toya, welcome back. You're rejoining after 17 months of membership. Good to have you back. Pamela, I think I called you out yesterday, but Pamela S., thank you so much for joining. Yuri Gonzalez as well. And I think that's everybody within the past 24 hours. All right, now let's take a look at those who gave super stickers or super chat today, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so for the Virgo reading, let's see who kicked it off today. It was Amanda B. Thanks for starting things off. I appreciate it. Thanks for staying up late because I know you're in Australia, so I appreciate that as well. Danny Lawson, good to have you here. Sheena Davis, Cindy Chen, Ivy Lingling, Mahima Lalit, sorry. Dana Mazur, Eso Gogo, it looks like. Lexi B, Mia Ruiz, and Jin Jin. Thank you so much. Good to have all of you here. Thank you for making this possible and for giving me the time and energy also to kind of do all of this. It's great to have you here. And I think I acknowledged everyone that made this possible. So thanks, everyone. I'll be back on Sunday, same time for now. We'll be doing 6 a.m. until further notice. So Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific, that's 9 Eastern, and it's in the early evening hours in the Central European zone, so you can check it out again. And then I'll be back next Monday, Thursday, and Friday to do Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius, all excellent signs, and looking forward to it. All right, until then, take care of yourselves, lots of love and light, and have a great weekend, okay, and a great month ahead, depending on when you see this video. All right, everybody. Little Apollo is in the background sleeping, but I'm going to try to wake him up for a walk. So take care of yourselves. Bye-bye, everyone.